Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Questions of Fire podcast this week. I'm very excited for the new guests that we have on this week. I was in Southeast Asia earlier this year, or for most of this year, and as we were going through Kuala Lumpur, which is one of the bigger cities, myself and my family came across a workshop. In that workshop, they were doing something that was it just looked like fun for the kids. They were making plastic turtles. But then when we got in, we got a full education on what 6 different types of plastics are about, where all of this stuff has been found on the seas, on the coastline. And what we didn't expect is we ended up having a great conversation with a lovely family, two of which are here right now, Carlos and Sydney, and learning about what difference we can make as individuals to the environment. A lot of people talk about, okay, well, we got the global chaos, we got, things we can do. But what I really like about these people is they're actually educating people and taking practical steps to cleaning up the environment. So please let me welcome today on the podcast, we have Sydney and Carlos. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
How are you going?
Hi. Well, let's start off. Where are you guys at the moment? Because you often travel about.
Well, right now we're on Tioman Island in Malaysia. Still,
Oh,
we've been here for a while.
and you travel or live in a boat now at this stage for a number of years as well. Let's kind of maybe before we get into the plastic, what your lifestyle is also fantastic. Tell us a little bit about your lifestyle, Sydney.
Well, basically, so my family and I, my mom, my dad, my brother and I, we have been living and sailing on a sailboat since 2011. So back then I was 6 years old and my brother was 3. And we moved on our boat. We came from Brisbane, Australia. That's where I guess everyone except my mom was born. And we moved on the boat and we started sailing up the east coast of Australia. Then we went through Southeast Asia, like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and some land travel. And we've been doing that for the past 9 years.
Wow.
We've been in Southeast Asia for about 5 years now.
So a lot of people are, before we get into the sort of the environment stuff, that's kind of like going what some people call off grid. You know, you're not in the classic society, going in a house and going in a school. So, for those who haven't done it, that includes me. I know we've had a couple of chats. Please tell people what it's like living off grid a little bit from a house perspective, from a school perspective, from just social life. I gather you guys have a different way of thinking about the world from having that amount of time. Do you want to share some of your thoughts about that?
So it's kind of like hard for me to explain because I've lived on a boat for so long. It's just like what's normal to me, and people are just like, how do you do it? What is it like living on a boat? I'm like, it's just normal, but it's not normal. So I have to like really think what exactly is like not normal to people, because for me it's like filling up our water tanks is normal. Having to rely on solar energy is normal. Having to ration food is normal, and
ration water.
And water, yeah, definitely
ration
water.
Electricity.
Ration everything really, and like
so you have to be a lot more. You have to be a lot more thoughtful about everything you have and you do, how long it will last. I do sailing myself. It's not like there's a continuous tap you can just open, but you got to do a bit of planning about everything in your life in some way. So it makes you more conscious, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of planning that goes into this because, like, I guess this is probably one of the reasons we got into environmental business in the first place, is probably because you have to be so conscious about what you consume, like all the materials you consume, resources. You have to be so conscious about it, and you need to work out how you can get it, where you can get it next, and how long you have to ration until you can get it next. And it makes you really realize that we have such a finite source of all Earth's resources. And I guess that's what got to us first in the first place, thinking that like, hey, we have to actually, start raising awareness that we have to really look after this because it's a very finite source.
So from that, Sydney, that's an interesting way. I hadn't thought about this one before, but people who live in a house lose awareness because they can turn on the tap for water anytime. They can turn on the heating because gas is pumped into the house. Electricity is on the main grid. So they actually have, just by the way they live, have somehow lost the need to be aware of they have an almost infinite supply of these things and don't have to consider the consequences of having that supply. Would that be kind of correct?
I think a big thing is that you lose touch with the natural world. We we are in tune with the weather every day because we are dependent on what's happening with the wind, what's happening with rain, and then like Sid's saying about all the natural resources, you just see it. You see it everywhere. Overconsumption, and then when you go to these islands and you see what's sitting around on the islands and you see what the materials that we're using,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's a very different thought process. Let's put it that way.
No, that actually gave a better context in a way for me to understand why you might even come to the point. And maybe, well, so what's the story then of you decided plastics, at least that's the first thing I know about. You decided at some point, hold on, we have this awareness. There's a lot of rubbish in the sea, on the coast. What made you decide, okay, let's do something about this, and even turn it into your life, into your business, and how you earn money, etc. But a lot of people are, first of all, unaware, so they don't even get conscious of it. But then, secondly, make a decision to actively go and say, hold on, we're going to
Oh.
turn our life and our business to do something about it.
I'm going to throw in a little bit on this before Sid.
Okay.
To be honest, the whole thing was an absolute accident. We
Brilliant.
started sailing. We left Australia. We started sailing through Indonesia, and we were going to keep sailing. And we just saw people that were poor but very, very happy, and lots of waste, rubbish everywhere. And we kept sailing through Indonesia, and then through Malaysia, and then through Thailand, and we started thinking, I wonder if we can do anything about this.
Yeah.
And then after about 8 months of sailing through these waters, we decided to see if we could try and make some plastic recycling machines. So Sid and I started making plastic recycling machines while we were in the boatyard. And then because we were away from Australia and all our friends and family were back in Australia, we would put photos on Facebook of what we've been up to, and then people would see it, and eventually someone in 2000, so that was 2015, 2016, we started messing around with the machines. In 2018, someone phoned up and said, "Oh, you make those machines, don't you?" And we said, "Yeah, why is that?" "Oh, can you make one and send it to the UK?" So we made one and sent it to the UK, and then we put the photos of that back up on Facebook. And someone from KL got in contact and said, "Oh, you make those machines, don't you? Can you make me one?" So we sent one to KL, and then he said, "Can you make a second one?" So we made a second one. So we did one machine in 2018. We did 15 machines in 2019, and this year I think we're going to be sitting at, with the lockdown, we're still going to be sitting at somewhere around about 17 or 18 machines. And these are 3-in-1 machines, so you're probably talking very close to 70 individual machines. So I'll hand it over to Sid now. She can tell a bit more about it.
Well, Sydney, maybe I can ask
Sorry.
you a question as part of that as well, as in that's the backstory of the business coming in and how it happened, and where we interacted with your family for the very first time was a workshop and education. And I know you talk a lot about this because a lot of people, as you said, aren't aware of what they have on their doorstep or in their house. How do you help educate people around, the environment, plastic, how to use it, what they can do about it? Because I know that that's something you do reasonably regularly.
Yeah. Well, I guess whenever I'm doing like, speeches, I'm going to use speeches for an example, which I do quite a lot. So in the beginning, I do like, I guess an introduction of, my lifestyle. And when I say my age and what I'm doing with all my stuff, people are like, oh, dang, she's like very young and she's doing all this. And I'm like, yes, thank you. And then they start listening because it's not a normal thing. But yeah, so when they start listening, I then get into the whole, like, why we started doing this. And that is when I begin, like, I guess, scaring people. And I do it on purpose. You have to, like, strike fear into this person's heart about this problem so that you just show how dire it is. And then, yeah, after that, you got to go to an optimistic side because, I mean, you always have to be optimistic about a problem like this. Most everything, really. So you gotta like strike fear into the person's heart and then end it on an optimistic note that we can actually do something about it. Like, it's huge and it's terrifying, but there's always something that every single person can do. So like,
So can we take this opportunity, Sydney, to say, okay, well, maybe describe a little bit the problem that you're approaching, and for people who are listening to this podcast, what are one or two things that they could potentially do? So give us a little bit of fear and give us a little bit of what we could do.
well, I guess, so I'm not a marine scientist. I just know like, basic facts about this plastic pollution problem. And what I do know is, I'm going to use this example. So in the ocean, we've got 5 gyres, and a lot of people don't know what the 5 gyres are. And what the 5 gyres are is we've got these 5 massive whirlpools of plastic in every ocean. In the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, we've got 2. And and then we've got, the rest are like scattered around the rest of the 5. So, well, there's one in the Indian Ocean. That's it. Yeah. So we've got 5 gyres around the world. So they're basically these massive whirlpool currents of plastic, where you've got the world currents and the winds that go around the equator. I'm not quite sure what the official name for them is. Dad probably knows as a sailor, but we've got these winds that go around the equator, like they blow in a very specific direction, and that causes these currents and, well, some of the currents to blow and push all the plastic into one big swirl. And yeah, we've got 5 of them, as I've said, but the biggest one in the world is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is just like, okay, for example, Hawaii is right on the edge of it. So it's in the middle of the ocean, but Hawaii is right on the edge of it. Very unfortunate for Hawaii. But yeah, so in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, it is the world's largest concentration of human trash, waste, and it is twice the size of the American state of Texas. But the thing about it is people think that this Great Pacific Garbage Patch is like this one big island, this pile of trash, stacked on top of each other like an island. But that's not true. And I know that makes it seem like it's not as bad, but that's actually worse, that it isn't a pile that we can just, grab and like store away somewhere. I mean, that'd still be very hard, but we've got,
but it's less visible,
what it is
really.
It's incredibly spread out. So there's this scientist, well, she's not a scientist. She's this free diver. She's a professional free diver and spearfisher woman in Hawaii. Her name is Kimi Werner. She wanted to do something about trash, like plastic in the ocean. And what she did was she got onto a research vessel. They went out to the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and they went and scooped up samples to see how much trash there was. And they were like, there's not much trash here. This is insane. What's everyone talking about? But then they looked on a microscopic level, and they saw that what they were catching was actually microplastics. So what people don't know about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is that 97% of it is actually microplastics. And microplastics are so much more worse than plastic bottles or cutlery straws and all that. So, and I'll tell you why. And this is basically the greatest reason why plastic pollution is so harmful to everything on Earth, is because so microplastics, when the plastic gets into the ocean, it breaks up into tiny microscopic, pieces that are often way too small for us to see. And it breaks up because of the sun beating down on it and the motion of the ocean and all that. But then when it breaks down, so there's a toxin there's a chemical in plastic that actually attracts algae. And when it attracts algae, it sticks around the plastic. And I'm going to go POV, you are a fish. So I'm a fish, I'm out in the ocean, and I'm a very small little fish, and I can see this little red or orange speck in the middle of the ocean. And I come up to it, and it smells like my food because it smells like algae, and it looks like my food because it's brightly colored, like shrimp would be, or krill. And krill. And I go up to it, and then I eat it. So I eat microplastics because it looks and smells like my food. And when I eat it, the toxins in it then leach into my muscle tissue. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to be a human now, not a fish.
Okay.
So, So basically, so the toxins in plastic leach into muscle tissue of fish, and it makes it toxic. But it doesn't completely, it doesn't break down inside a fish because of its stomach acids and stuff. It stays there, and it usually blocks up their stomach, and the fish die. Or if they don't die, they will get eaten by a bigger fish, and the bigger fish will also eat microplastics because it's inevitable, and they eat the microplastics in the little fish, and they get toxins, and then the bigger fish eat the other bigger fish, and it's just this, life cycle, this ecosystem of plastic consumption in fish.
We're getting thousands and thousands and maybe millions of fish either dying or getting sick because of this. That's kind of the big consequence.
So basically
every week you eat one credit card worth of plastic?
Yeah, I was getting to that. So why plastics are so bad to humans and sea life is not only because I've already explained why it's bad for fish, and sea creatures, and because you get tangled in plastic bags and stuff and eat it. So basically, when humans eat fish, we also eat the toxins in the fish's body, and we eat the microplastics because we cannot see the microplastics. This is when we eat fish most of the time. And studies, of 2019, don't quote me on that, but I know that this for a fact. I just don't know what year. Basically, studies found that it was in Britain that there have been microplastics found in the water sources, like the vast majority of water sources in Britain, and it's also been found in the soil and the air. So basically, humans on a weekly average are consuming up to 5 grams of microplastic per week, and that is about a credit card's worth of plastic.
Look at the time.
Yeah. So basically, that's it. The toxins in microplastic can also affect, human growth, and also affects like how women reproduce and stuff. So it really affects us, and it can cause genetic mutations and make us sick and cause cancer. Another thing has been found. It's very bad for humans as well.
So now, Sydney, after all of that, because I'm feeling a little bit down, give us something that a person can do to help this situation.
Yeah. So basically, I always now I say to people, like the vast majority of my audience is like kids, people my age, because I relate to people my age. I mean, it's kind of hard because I had a very different upbringing, but I'm a kid. So I say to people like, I didn't really start this. So my dad basically started this as like my education. And what I got from it was you are absolutely never too young to do something. And that doesn't just apply to plastic pollution or anything. It applies to everything. So basically, I say basically a lot, but anyway. So
no worries.
So any kid can do anything at any age, because all you have to do is just start educating yourself on the matter and just do anything. do one thing, do anything. And when you've done one thing, it'll turn into one thing, turn into a bigger thing, and you'll keep growing and you'll keep learning more, and your action will get bigger. Like, we just started our project by doing YouTube videos and telling our friends about this problem that we see in front of our eyes. And then we grew, we learned more, we were able to do more, and then we've now got a business. So just the smallest actions turn into something great.
But you can
Brilliant.
start with just small things.
Yeah.
When you go shopping, take your own shopping bags.
Yeah.
When you go out to the cafe, take your own straw. Sid carries her own bamboo knife and fork and spoon and straws and all sorts of stuff with her. I carry all spare little shopping bags for getting the fruit and veggies. Just start with something, and then once you do that one thing, it becomes routine and it gets easy and comfortable, and then you'll start going out and you won't want this takeaway container, and then you won't want these other bits and pieces, and you start become a bit more mindful of everything everywhere.
Excellent. So in the middle of all of this, that's fantastic. I'm feeling a bit better now. I've been brought back up after what we can do. You guys have a bit of fun as well. We were lucky enough to, I think my younger son Liam and myself, you brought us wakeboarding in Tiaman Island. As much as you're hardworking, you're cleaning up the ocean, you also know how to enjoy it. Life can be good.
True.
Well, that's the whole reason behind it. And what we try and do is we try and show people the reason why you need to protect this and why you need to put in this effort, because we have such a special world. We have so much good in this place. You need to enjoy it. If we don't look after it, it's going to be very hard to enjoy later on, and especially for our kids. And that's what concerns me is I look at the world that I grew up in and that I was playing in 35 years ago, and it's vastly different to what the kids have got now, and that scares me in some ways.
But also, like, wait, what was I going to say? I forgot. I was going to say something, but then Dad kept talking and I forgot it.
So just for people then who want to become more aware, you guys have great videos. You have a fantastic site. I saw in the last couple of months, you also have sort of a Kickstarter program. You want to tell people about where they can find your activities, what you do, how they could follow you, how they could get involved if that's something they feel like doing?
You want me to say where they can find us? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I said it again. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You can find us on like we're really, like, lately, like in the past month, I guess, we've really expanded our visibility reach, or whatever you want to call it. So you can find us on, we have a website. You can just search up the SeaMonkey project and you'll find us like anywhere, I guess. So our website, Instagram, Facebook, we got Patreon, Poptron, which is a Malaysian thing, and other stuff. I can't remember some of them.
What about it?
I think that's it.
I saw the Kickstarter one where you're sort of starting to make products out of waste. That's quite an interesting one. Sydney, tell us a little bit about that project.
Oh, yeah. So the Kickstarter program only went on for a month, and that ended in, August or October? No, It ended on August, yeah. So we did that for a month. We still have a new product, which is these 100% upcycled material bags. And we've developed tote bags, hip bags, and backpacks. We made these out of just 100% from upcycled materials. So we made them from sails, fishing rope, boat rope, kite surfing sails.
Fishnet.
Fishnet.
Fishnet from ghost nets.
Recycled plastic, because we make the toggles and the badges out of recycled plastic. And also the stitching that was used to stitch it all together used to be plastic water bottles, and it was turned into thread. So yeah, we have a lot of faith in that product, and we really believe that people would support us for that. So we started a Kickstarter program, and to raise a certain amount of money to I guess, keep our project going and also to support this new product. So, and when people who donated, they got their own bag. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So looking forward now, we have a very strange year for everybody, whether you live on a boat or in a house. It's the COVID situation has sort of created an unusual atmosphere where we're all somehow more restricted in several different ways. Um, I probably have kind of a double forked question for you. How will life living on a boat be on 2021? And how is your awareness of the environment spreading its reach? And I think you said you're already starting to do the spread the reach, but give us your idea of what 2021 could be like about people getting more aware of the environment and what they can do. And, how's life going to be living on a boat in 21 in your idea?
I'll answer. Okay, so 2020 has been a very interesting year.
For everyone.
Yeah, for everyone in every way. 2021 is looking for us that we are making more machines than what we've ever thought we would do. We're working with some very interesting partners. One of them that I cannot say anything about that will probably blow people away. In a couple of months, I'll be able to say something. But we currently are working with the likes of the Body Shop, which I think most people know about. We've worked with Adidas. We work with a lot of different companies making corporate gifts, and also now we're starting to make more usable everyday items. So we want to expand that a lot more. We're also got project sites. This one in Tierman Island, we're actually starting up and taking on the complete collection of all plastics on the island. We're actually trying to, I won't say stop the incinerator, but we want to try and make a massive difference with the amount that the incinerator gets used. So that's a big project. And then we've got projects in some other islands, some other remote parts of Borneo. We've got machines going to collect ocean plastic and turn it into different things. We're just expanding the product line, expanding the knowledge base, and trying to get more people involved. And I think because we're doing a lot of everyday stuff that people are seeing, we made a collection bin the other day, and people see this, and it brings a whole new meaning to it, that you can actually see that all this stuff that was everyone considered to be rubbish, absolute garbage, was turned into something that was really quite attractive and very, very useful. So we're getting a lot of people starting to come on board in that way, seeing this stuff. And I think there's quite a lot of talks lined up for SID for next year. And whether we like it or not, we're going to be doing workshops for schools, but they're probably going to be Zoom ones. I don't know how much face-to-face stuff, but we've got quite a lot of educational stuff coming up as well.
Excellent. So, well, I want to thank both of you. You have hold on one second, that you have a wonderful day. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we've got you again now.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I went for a second. I just wanted to say thanks very much for taking the time. And what we'll do is we'll post all the links so people can join, follow, and be aware of what you're doing. And it has been a pleasure. And I look forward to meeting you guys again in the future with our families. And have a wonderful time, guys. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for that, Jonathan.
Thank you for having us.
And
take care, Sydney. Go ahead.
Speak to you later. Bye.
See you later. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.